So shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Ooh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach em, making them me some believers, cause we overachievers. DBs see 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all come follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. NewOrleans.Football podcast. I'm Nick Underhill, joined by Kevin Washington. As always, we're coming to you live from the Better Call Batto podcast studio, presented by Sant CPA. Big day for the Saints, man. Saints signed Tyrann Mathieu. This should be like the draft recap show, but I don't even know if that's the topic of discussion today. Major move, man. Kevin, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, man, you're right. It's nothing like the Saints to come in and, change up our day, change up our topics. But look, long as they're giving us something to talk about, long as they're keeping it exciting, we love it, man. We love it. So I'm ready to pod. Let's get into it. But let's pay some bills, though.
Yeah. Are you a business owner needing some guidance with your daily accounting? Daniel Sant CPA can help get your finances in order. They provide relevant accounting information, detailed analysis, and clear communication in a timely manner. Call today, 318-321-2765. or visit santcpa.com. And if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, Maritime Jones Act, hurricanes, storm claims, you better call Batto at 504-323-4777 or 985-677-1085 for your free consultation and case review. That's battolaw.com, BADEAUXLAW.com. And hit up our guys, Firehouse, Veterans Boulevard location. Get a sub. Do what you got to do. Feed your hunger.
Only place to get a sub in the whole world. Like, there's no other place in the world to get a Subway over there.
No, sir. No, sir, there isn't. So check them out. Where you want to start?
Oh, let's get into it. Well, you slandered me on the last members only pod about starting with the offensive tackle instead of the wide receiver. So I got my priorities straight today. So we're gonna jump right into the signing of Tyrann Mathieu. So what does this signing tell you about the team? Because I think that they're telling us a lot with this signing, but I want you to start off right, and you can just tell me if I'm overreaching. But just like, where are they like as a team with this signing now?
This is a team that thinks that they can contend. This is a team that expects to contend. This is a team that's setting our expectations for them at a contender. We aren't setting the expectations. Their actions are telling us,
yeah,
they think they can win the NFC South. They think they can get into the playoffs, and they think they can win games. They're operating as such. And Mickey Loomis, even at his pre-draft press conference, said that he moved the assets up to build around the team that they have now. And then they go out and they sign Tyrann Mathieu 3 years, $33 million. That's a move of a team that's trying to do something
right now.
Right now. And I know a lot of people want to act like they don't understand that. I dismiss those people out of hand immediately and pay them no attention, because if you are somebody thinking it's ridiculous that this team thinks it can make the playoffs, you don't know what happened last year. You didn't watch the team. You're basing that on foolish assumptions that aren't factually based. So like I scroll right past that stuff, but I see it exists. But I mean, look, they won a lot of games, 4 different starting quarterbacks. I know they lost Sean Payton. That's a major thing. They got to prove they can overcome it. Most of the staff stayed in place. Dennis Allen is a proven coach. If you're talking about the Oakland stuff again, I'm dismissing you because he's proven that he's worthy of another shot. And maybe
that's an asset kind of. That's kind of like a good thing that he went somewhere and failed, like so he won't make those same initial mistakes. Like I view that as a positive.
And he might not succeed. He might not succeed, but it's not going to be because of Oakland. It's kind of he's proven as much ready as any other coordinator that gets a job. So, we'll see what he does there. But yeah, man, this is a team that's going for it right now.
Yeah, I think that's my exact take. I was hoping you would go somewhere else with it, so we can, we can do a little first take. But no, in all seriousness, I think that's it. I think they, I kind of see the team now. I think they feel like the NFC is for taking. They
Mhm.
feel like they can beat the Bucks. They now we can have an opinion, our own personal opinions about how where we feel the team is, etc. If we think they should be doing more rebuilding, I think that's an okay conversation. But the team, right? The Saints are saying to us, they're saying, "Hey, look, we're competing right now. We're ready to take some of these assets that we had in the future, and we're willing to use them now. We're willing to sign guys like this. We're not willing to, because I mean, theoretically, they could have still had a good defense with." If you don't have like an elite safety in both spots, or not elite, but really good players, you can still field a good defense. But good enough on that side of the ball, I don't think that they view it as enough. They view themselves as contenders, and I think that they've shown us that with their recent moves. And so, that's exactly what I take from this move. I take from this move is that Philly, we don't plan on making these picks. Your first round pick is going to be a late round pick next year if we have anything to do with it. You're not going to we're not moving up for a quarterback of the future and, et cetera. No, we're trying to compete right now. And so I think that's where they are. And I think there's a logical case to be made for them to take that approach. So I think that's that, I think we kind of see it the same way there.
Yeah, look, it's a bit like it's a big. Well, first of all, let's start with the thing about beating the Bucks. Of course, they think they can beat the Bucks, and that's not even
They did
a
beat the
commentary
Bucks
on the Bucks.
already.
Like they play the Bucks extremely well, and
Yeah, absolutely.
they should feel confident in that. And as long as
Demonstrated
Dennis Allen,
ability, right?
right? As long as Dennis Allen and the staff is around, like they're going to have a good chance against them. Like that's just simply a team that they play well, and that doesn't. Again, it's not foreshadowing, predicting, or anything. It's just something that you should have that inherent confidence, given that you've done this repeatedly. And even in the playoff loss, I thought the defense played them pretty well in that game, and
Absolutely.
they were close to winning. So, yeah, that's a good starting place for them. And the NFC is bad. Like you should feel like it's there for the taking. Look, I think they've done everything, and I wrote this today. I think they've done everything within reason to put the team around Jameis Winston and Dennis Allen for those guys to succeed. And I feel like a lot hinges on both of them right now. Like DA's got to prove he can be the coach, he can lead the team, and
Yeah.
Jameis needs to prove that he can do the high volume passing with good players around him. I mean, you got Mike Thomas, assuming he comes back. You got Chris Olave, assuming he's ready. You got Alvin Kamara at a certain point in the season, suspension or not. Like at some point, everything's going to be there. Everything's going to be rolling, and it's got to work. You got to make it work. And he showed last year that he can handle that. Like he can stay out of mistakes. So you got to prove it now, passing 30 times a game, maybe. And I think he can do it. And I think he's earned that. I think he should have that responsibility. Like, I'm not putting pressure on him. I'm not putting anything on him. I think he should. And he said last year he wants the weight. Give him the weight. Let him carry it. See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I actually want to take it a step further. I do think the pressure is on Jameis, right? And I think Jameis, like you said, wants that pressure. Jameis is his team.
I'm not undue pressure. I'm not putting undue
pressure. Got it. Right. But he said, like, yo, this is my team. I go into training camp and I don't have to compete. I'm getting all the, like, you got to, like, training camp snaps are really critical, right? I think that matters. I think time on task with the wide receiver and the weapons that you're going to be playing with is important, right? And last year it was abbreviated. On top of that, Mike Thomas wasn't there, right? So, just calling it like I see it, and we're critical when we need to be critical, and we're fair when we need to be fair, right? And I think if I'm being fair to Jameis, he did have he kind of, had to play with his hands tied behind his back at times last year, right? Just due to the weapons that were available to him. And I think that the nature of the offense that they were running, it was a run-heavy offense. You don't have a lot of pass targets. Sean Payton was probably trying to protect Jameis and the pass game on some level by, running AK a lot, which, you can feel how you want to feel about that. But I think, they've gotten Jameis some weapons. They replaced Armstead at left tackle. We'll see if that's a good replacement. They've given you a significant receiving target in the first round who can come in day one and play. Mike Thomas is returning, and you get a healthy Ramczyk, healthy O-line. Look, I think they're giving Jameis an opportunity to succeed. They're saying, Jameis, you're our guy. If for at least the next two years, we're going to try to do what we can to make you successful. And he's earned that opportunity. And I think he's going to respond well to it. I think Jameis, there are a lot of good things about Jameis Winston as a quarterback. There's some things to work on, but I think with this team, with the foundation that they build around him, by the way, they're still a defensive team, so he doesn't have to put up 30 points a game. I think he's in a position to succeed. And if this doesn't work out, I think, you can just point. I think, Jameis had his chance, right? Because he's getting this is a golden opportunity for him.
There's room for one more guy. I mean, there is room for one more guy, but there's enough there to make it work too. And having Mike Thomas, the number 11 overall pick, in Alvin Kamara, I mean, that's a pretty good core group of guys. And you got to find a way to make that. You got to find a way to make that go. But I do think there's room for one more guy. I think they should go sign Sony Michel or something. I think that's a move.
So you think the one more guy should be a running back, or you think?
I think they could do both, but I mean, I think getting like Sony Michel is kind of like an imperative type of move. I think you got to go get somebody like that.
That's a good move. I didn't thought about that. I think that'd be a really good signing. So yeah, I'm with you. By the way, I think I would love for them to sign Jarvis Landry. Right, you got him and Mike, or two guys that can play inside. They can go over the middle. You got Olave as an elite route running outside weapons. Like, give Jameis everything he needs. Right, he has enough right now. You said it, but just make it egregious. You got Mike Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara in the backfield with let's call it O-line average this year, right? Until we see different. I think that's a good situation for him, and I think that's what they should be trying to get, trying to do for him as a player.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I think that if the opportunity is there, if the price is right, I think him and Mike do some similar things. So it needs to be like at a price that makes it makes sense, and it's not something you're going over the top to do, because they're spending money right now, but they still do, like, their priority is still also to like do this and manage their cap at the same time. Like, they don't want to be doing the stuff they're doing with the cap. It's going to be interesting to see how they structure this Tyrann deal too, on top of that, because they have the money to kind of absorb it right now, but like, are they going to push it out and do the same stuff? Because they're on the record saying they want to handle their cap and make their cap look better and clean it up and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one comes together. But
yeah, absolutely.
Look, overall, this defense, I'm not with people that are saying it's going to be better. It's safety. Like, I don't know if I can.
I don't subscribe to that yet, neither.
I don't know if I can go there with it, but I do think that is potentially going to be like a more dynamic look. I think there's a lot of stuff that they're going to be able to do that they couldn't do before. Absolutely. Disguise is obviously going to be way more open. Tyrann hasn't played like a ton of free safety, but he's played free safety about 300 snaps last year. I think he had a career high. DJ, our social media guy, pointed that out. He had a career high in snaps at free safety last year, which 308. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something. And I think that number is going to go higher too, because he's not going to be playing in the slot. Like, he covered the slot a lot before in Arizona, Houston, Kansas City. I don't foresee that being a thing he does a whole lot of. So I think he's going to be playing deeper in the box a lot more. And I think that's going to be good for him. I think it's a good role for him. He's extremely intelligent. He sets people up. He's kind of been a traffic director. So having him be able to do that is going to be another asset with Marcus Williams gone. And I think kind of maybe the one undercover major aspect of this Tyrann signing, like, you've lost a lot of leadership. And I don't know if anybody's like, I think most people, even from afar, kind of know what kind of person Tyrann is. Like, he's just somebody that people gravitate toward. And he's
he's a leader. He's a leader of men, right?
Just naturally. Yeah, like, when he talks, people listen. Like, people pay attention to him. He's kind of like one of those central figures in the NFL. It's the reason he's like one of the most popular players in the NFL. Regardless, he's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be like insane once he
runs out that tunnel. Yeah, I mean, it's
like, I remember watching the Amazon season, the Cardinals, and like just kind of seeing him in the locker room and how he led people and how he talked and everything. It was something that kind of made you pay attention. And I think having that in this locker room with the exodus of some of those leaders and kind of being in a transition of leadership a little bit.
Come on, my guy.
Yeah. I'm struggling. I struggle with that transitory.
Transitory.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
In a period of transition.
They're trying something different.
Transition. Yeah. I think it's good to have him come in and kind of be another leader. And
you just lost Malcolm Jenkins, right? Who's a super
Jenkins
leader.
Was another one, yes.
Yeah, so you bring in someone that it's crazy. I mean, I don't think they obviously say, "Oh, we lost a safety leader. Let us bring a new safety leader in to replace our old safety leader." But yeah, I think there's a leadership dimension there that you lost, and I think that I think they learned something when Roman Harper, I think it was Greer that year, and Malcolm Jenkins left, and they brought in Jairus Byrd, and that kind of led to the Junior Galette era. I think that that the front office and Coach Payton at the time, they saw the value of leadership, right? They saw the value of guys having a good locker room, right? And I think that the sum is greater than is greater than the equal of his parts, right? I probably butchered that statement, but you get all these guys together and they're better together than they are as individuals, right? And I think that leadership has a large part to do with that. And so, yeah, I think that's a secondary or maybe even tertiary benefit of signing him, but I do think it is a significant part of him being in this locker room. No question. So what do you feel about this? I remember when Malcolm first came, right? And there was a little bit of a period where he kind of had to adjust to the defense and get integrated into it. With them bringing in Marcus May initially in the offseason, and now they're bringing in Tyrann Mathieu. Those are two brand new safeties, and safeties are kind of what allows defenses to disguise and move around and do different things, right? It's one of those joker type positions where guys can kind of be all over the field. So how do you think there's going to be a transitory period with Honey Badger and Marcus May coming in at safety?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, the thing with Malcolm is that he had never really played cover 4 before, and that's kind of the Saints base coverage, and that was kind of the issue there. I think both these guys have played it before, but we'll see. I mean, it might take a little bit of time, and Marcus May is going to get suspended at probably start out. I think it starts at 4 for DUI, and then you can appeal, get it down. So it might be 2 or 3 games to start the season. But anyhow, they're going to start that process. It's going to come back, then they're going to start it again. They will have preseason games, so I think that's something that'll probably help a little bit too. And those guys will play in preseason games together. But there probably will be a little bit of a little bit of acclimation period. And you're going to have that, but I think it's okay to go through that early in the season. I think this team might lose some games early in the season that it probably shouldn't. Period. Simply, Alvin's probably going to miss some time. You're going to have Marcus May out. You're going to have guys coming in trying to get used to things. Chris Olave is going to be figuring out how to play in the NFL.
Mike Thomas and Jameis chemistry, right? Yeah.
So I mean, if this is a team that doesn't hit the ground running, and then you get to London. That might be the point where things start coming and clicking and going for you at that point, much like 17. So if they can get through that first bit of the schedule, 500 record, get to London and off you go. And I believe they announced that game this week, right? The 4th. Yeah. So we should know who it is and who
Star Wars Day.
Yeah. It's supposed to be Minnesota, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, it started out Bengals, and then there's so we'll see. We'll see though.
I heard Bengals too. I don't know who it's going to be, but yeah, we'll figure out.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they start out a little bit slow. It takes some time to get going. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be an acclimation period. I think that's natural. You might have a new cornerback in there, although I think it's going to take Alontae Taylor. Like he's gonna have to pick things up like real quick. I think to knock off Paulson Adebo But the skills, the talent, the traits, they're all there. It's just he's got to figure out how to put it together. And I just don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen week 1 of the NFL season, but we'll see.
Yeah, which is interesting too, because the secondary is one of those positions where guys do need to know where they're going to be, right? Like Marcus Lattimore needs to know where that safety is going to be, right? If he needs to play inside out or outside in with the wide receiver, where's my help at, right? If Marshawn needs help, right? Or Paulson Adebo, for instance. So I think it starts with, like we just said, integrating those safeties into the defense, but also if Taylor, it sounds like it's a cornerback competition, and I mean, is that how you perceived it, or is it, or they're going to just come in and all right, we got Paulson Adebo, we're going to just try to develop this guy for the future? Like, what do you see? Like, how do you see that draft pick?
He's a 2nd round pick. He's there to compete. He's there to compete for sure. Paulson Adebo's a 3rd round pick. I mean, he's there to compete. You got to be like it might be developmental, and you might be okay if it takes time to develop because you have Paulson, but I mean, he should. They have a greater investment in him than the other guy, and that doesn't determine playing time, but that level of investment creates some level of expectation. And if you're drafted in the 2nd round, at some point, you're expected to be a starter, and that might not be day 1 or not, but you are competing, and you're measuring yourself at that point, and then figuring out what you got to do to win it the next time you have that opportunity to get on the field or the next training camp. So, yeah, I mean. When I watched him, I watched every snap he played last night, and I do think that there is there's things when it clicks. It's like, man, this
Every
guy's
snap he
really good in
played.
those moments. In those
Every
moments,
snap.
when things click, it's just wow. Like this is like he looks really good, but it's inconsistent, and you can see why they drafted him. You can see the things that he does well. And look, I'm gonna defer to Chris Richard here to kind of, he identified, drafted, developed a lot of players with these traits, and some of them worked out really well. I seem to think that he probably has things that he likes in players, and he identified them in him. So we're gonna see how it works out and go from there. But watching it immediately, I'll be honest, like I've watched other corners and I knew quicker like what they were gonna do. And with this guy, like I'm a little less uncertain, but you can see where it can go. It's just can he get there? And that's the big question with that.
Yeah, I know Ryan Nielsen got Davenport as a kind of a guy to draft and develop and build him up, and you can say Peyton Turner, also right, and they started doing pass rushing drills in practice. That worked out really well. Note to all defensive line coaches, but yeah, I kind of see this as a similar situation with this cornerback, right, Alontae Taylor. I if I could tell the Saints one thing, like, can you draft guys that have a little bit more cut ups on YouTube? Because it's really hard to find film on some of these guys. But the little bit that I do find, I kind of echo what you said. There's moments where I thought he kind of looked good, and then there's other things even in the cut of some of his his highlights, and that's kind of all I've been able to see because I haven't been able to get my hands on much. But
You got to
it's
find
like,
your way
okay,
on some of the. You got to find your way on some of these servers, man.
man, I got to
They're out
go
there.
to
They're
I
out
got to
there.
go to Reddit, Telegram, go to the dark web and get film of Alontae Taylor.
You gotta find your way on, man. They're out there.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. But I think that this is I think he's going to the first thing I thought about. I'm not comparing him to this player, right? Because this player may end up in the Hall of Fame, but I think if he's a good player, I think he's gonna have to be a good player. Not exactly, but similar to how Richard Sherman was. Richard Sherman was a lone corner, right? Now he wasn't fast. Alontae Taylor is faster than him, but I don't think that their hips are neither. Like Richard Sherman was not like a loose hip corner, right? I mean, he wasn't, but he was a really good corner, right? In his prime, he's one of the best corners of his generation, and so I think he's gonna have to like win similar, right? He's not a super loose hip corner. He's long, he's fast, he's athletic. I think that some of the things that Sherman displayed, and it's not a one-to-one comparison again. And like I said, I'm not really comparing these players. I just think they're going to have to win similar, right? And I think ideally, he plays to the boundary. And it'll be interesting to see if he's a starter, right? If he starts, I would be interested in seeing if they keep him to the boundary and away from the field side, just so he didn't have to play in as much space. And so whoever he's covering won't have you won't have that two-way go, right? You can just maybe protect the sidelines, etc. So there's some things that I think that you can do that would help him as a player schematically. But all in all, I do think that he's someone who may take a little time, right? Just based on what I saw, I think I would probably shoe in a Debo right now, but it's a competition and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm gonna play two clips. That kind of take you on the ride of
film study.
Yeah, just two quick clips. But and
I wasn't ready for this, guys. This is new to me.
The audio. Well, I mean, they're self-explanatory. Like, there's really nothing to break down here. Like, here's the first one. This PBU against Ole Miss. Just great vision, reads the field, breaks off when he should, makes the play, and you see it, and it's just it's an incredible moment, and you're like, man, that's why this guy was the 49th pick in the draft. Here it is.
Yeah,
there he was, top of the screen, breaks it out. I mean, it's an incredible play. You see his length, his speed, his vision, and in this one, he's kind of breaking back. I thought one of the best things when I watched him play was his ability to kind of break forward on plays, use his speed, and kind of see the field and break down. And that, I think when you see that, that's why you read a lot of these scouting reports and it's like, well, oh, this guy could be a safety. It's because like when he sees things and breaks, like those are some of his best plays. And some of his best plays are just recognizing things and peeling off when he should. And like there's a pass to the flat in one of the early games in the season, he sees it, he breaks off his guy, makes a play in the backfield, and it's amazing. Like it's an amazing play.
Was that the one where he saw the defense didn't adjust to the motion and he peeled off his player?
Yeah, it was a good play. Yeah.
Okay, so this next one, is he at the top or the bottom? Just so
he's at he'll be on my side of the screen, the right.
Okay, all right, got it. Yeah, you
It's
good
just
on
crazy.
that.
I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play that again. Like he's at the top. You notice he has inside help. The safety's on the inside of the field. He could have played to his help. He over
Exactly.
pursues the double move. He's way too aggressive. He can't get his hips back around, and he's just. It's almost like someone overselling, biting on something to make it believable.
He
It's just
bought it.
weird. Like it's
It kind of
crazy. Like
reminds you of like when the team is like it's 4th and 1, and they just they're not going to hike the football, but some guy jumps.
right,
It's kind of simple. It's like your help is there. Like don't jump this route.
right. I'm
Yeah.
going to play it again.
That's a big
I mean, like you just
negative play.
yeah. Anything you do, you cannot overbite on that route
Yeah.
when you got inside help. Like you just play to your help. Kind of have some awareness. And that was my main thing with him is when I watched him, it just kind of felt like. And look, he was a wide receiver a couple of years ago, and he's playing DB now, and like that's kind of what it looks like. It's at times
Mhm.
like it's just kind of like he just needs to learn it a little more. And I think with good coaching, it can get there. But I mean, there's those highs and those lows, and I think you look at the highs and you say, all right, we got good coaches. What can we do to get them there? And I see exactly what they see. Like I understand why they're doing what they're doing, but you also can't objectively look at the situation and not see the downsides as well. So it's to be determined. I think he's a good enough athlete that they're going to figure something out, and I think there's enough potential. If it doesn't work out on the outside, you can move him to safety. I think there's a lot of things you can do with him. So you're raising the floor on the downsides. I think just given how good of an athlete he is, how much versatility he clearly has. But I think the upsides there at cornerback are extremely high, like 6 foot,
Did you
200 pounds,
consistently about
speed.
you watched all this tape, right? And so I look at that last play, and we just look at that one. Like I know, your job is to protect the sidelines, right? Yeah, I mean, you got help on the inside. You got your hips facing inside, right? So you're set in a way where you're protecting the sidelines, but you jumped the route. Was a couple of things, right? Was that something that you kind of consistently saw from him? Because I
I think
think
that's
that
the
like
most extreme example. I think it's the most
okay,
extreme example. Like some of the stuff that you see from him is like on a hitch, like the guy breaks back and he's just going up the field. Like I think there's just some recognition and technique things that
so
need to
that
come.
leads me to the question, like as a safety, those are things that you want to be a strength, right? So
Well,
do
yeah,
you
but right. But I mean, if the play's in front of you, like on a hitch, like you aren't having to, turning.
read it? Yeah.
But I think these are all things that he's going to be able to fix with just coaching, recognition, technique. I just think that he needs to be brought along a little bit, and the traits are there. The traits are there, and again, we saw the first clip when it clicks. Like it's outstanding, but when it doesn't, there's the downside. And these are kind of like the two extremes. So it's almost like unfair to just show these two.
High
Like
and a low, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the low isn't representative of really who he is. The high, that's probably like one of his best moments of the season. So I mean, there's an in between there, and there's times when his coverage is just really good. He plays solid press man coverage. Sometimes though, there's just things with recognition where it isn't there, and
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of consistency, coaching, all that stuff, and again, like there is a scenario where he gets there and they're like, oh
Figures
man,
it
they got
out.
him at 49,
They
and
stole a player.
yeah, it's just kind of a matter of how it comes along. But look, Chris Richard, like his a long track record of identifying and developing very good defensive backs outside of the first round, especially. Like he's found a lot of talent. So if he's saying this is the guy, like I kind of just
Yeah,
gotta wait and see how it plays out.
I think that's my stance on it also is, I think that they listen, I think DA is a secondary he cut his teeth as a secondary coach. So he knows what he knew what he was looking at when he drafted that guy. And then you also have Rashard there who knows what good DBs look like. And Jeff Ireland has done a really good job, a damn good job of drafting and this, and subsequently developing. He wasn't doing the developing, but he was getting the guys in the building. Secondary talent, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Marcus Lattimore, Marcus Williams, Paulson Adebo, Von Bell, right? These guys, they were all drafted, in this regime. And so, when the pick, it's not a pick I would have made. That doesn't mean anything, right?
Well,
Because
I think they probably wanted running back in the second round. I mean, I think that was kind of where they wanted it to go. And
do you think? Well, I got a question for you. Right before they drafted him,
No.
Brisker went off the. Okay, you don't think that? Okay. All right, yeah. Because I
No,
speculated on it,
I'm
but
pretty
I
sure
haven't tweeted it. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I was just like, I wonder, right?
they had their safety pick before the draft started, and they signed him today.
Okay, there you go. But yeah,
It's a matter of everything coming together, like, all that stuff. It still has to come together after the draft, but I'm pretty sure the direction they were going with safety.
It's how it turned out. Yeah. No, I get it.
I have zero doubt in my mind that they picked their safety before the draft, the guy they wanted to be able to bring on the team, and now he's on the team.
Me and the hundreds of people in here. Shout out to the chat too, man. I like this chat number. Y'all showing up in here, y'all listening to us on a Monday. Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Shout out to you guys. I just looked up there and saw like, man, we got a nice participation tonight. So, but yeah, I'm with it. I understand the pick. You can't have too many corners. It'll be interesting to see how some of this plays out. Is Roby, is he the backup nickel? Is he a backup outside? Does this guy, like, where does he fit on the depth chart? I would think right now for corners, Marshawn, Chauncey, I'm putting Chauncey as a corner, Debo, and then maybe Roby. So he's probably like 4th or 5th on the depth chart right now. So we'll see how this thing plays out and see how it comes up. But, like I said, my initial reaction is like, well, these guys, they've done a really good job on drafting these guys in the secondary, and they know more than Kevin. And so I'm going to, like we always do. I mean, that's how we do here. We look at, we give guys a chance, right? It's like, it's an open book now, right? You're on the team, and we're just going to evaluate it as such. And so he'll get the same treatment. I wanted them to, I would have liked another offensive weapon in the second round, personally, because I think, I just think that, you can't, I want to give, clearly Jameis is the guy, right? And they've told us that. And I think that, as many weapons as we can give him, the better, as they can give him, the better. But I understand the pick, because if you see a guy you think you can develop him at a premium position, then you take the guy, right? I think that's just what it is. And so, I understand the pick, and, we'll see how he turns out in camp. So we haven't spoken. Just a quick aside, right? We don't want to go too deep on there, but just your thoughts overall on the draft as a whole. I know last time we recorded, it was Friday morning, so the picks from the day 2, day 3, well, rounds 2 through 7 hadn't occurred yet. So, once you take a step back and you look at this draft, like, what do you think they set out to accomplish? Do you think they accomplished it? And what are your thoughts on some of the guys that they picked?
I think they mostly accomplished the things I want to accomplish. I think Olave has to be really good to justify the investment in him.
Has to be good. Yes.
Yeah, he's got to hit. Yeah, he's got to hit. He's got to hit. Yeah, he's got to hit.
No chance for error. None.
I think Penning will be good. It's just a matter of how quickly can he get there.
Do you think he starts the season at left tackle right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why everyone. I don't know why anyone would think differently. Every indication we've gotten at every turn is that they want Ramczyk at right tackle, and they keep saying it.
Well, no, I mean, like, you think Hurst you think it's, out of him and Hurst,
we'll
think
see.
He'll be ready, at the start. That's what I was.
I haven't seen him even take a snap on the field yet, so I don't know that. But I think they would like him to be the starter. I think I'll have every opportunity to be the starter. So
yeah.
There's things he's got to do, though. I mean, he's raw as well. I mean, there's things that he has to put together, and the athletic traits are incredible. His good moments are really good. He just needs to figure out how to kind of refine his approach and be a little more consistent and steady with how he goes about doing things, not being penalties, not over pursue things. So that seek and destroy mentality of his, you really like, but it just needs to be in the right moments. Yeah.
I mean, he's like the defense version of CD, right? He's like, he walks you to the edge habitually, but hopefully he doesn't cross it, right?
Right. And he just needs to not go too far in kind of pushing the lines and everything with all that stuff. Just rein it in. Don't commit a lot of penalties in that. His coach, though, said that he felt that some of that was unfair and that he was being attacked by players, and then he would catch the flag for kind of like striking back at people. So whatever it is, though, like that's you can't be committing a ton of penalties on the offensive line. You don't want your offensive lineman to be giving up 5 yards. They're supposed to.
In the NFL, the second guy gets caught, right? The second guy always get caught in the NFL. You got to know that, right? Like the CD Deuces of the world are going to try to get you doing stuff where you're the second guy. So just be smart about it. So
the pick of Alontae Taylor, like, I like the idea of not resting on your laurels at cornerback. And if you think you can ever get better at a position, regardless, I think you have to take those opportunities and capitalize upon them. And as a player, it's not necessarily me saying that isn't necessarily a commentary on anybody. Like I think Paulson Adebo had a good season. I think there's upside there. But if you don't shut the door on the idea of competition coming in, like that's that's kind of
So
that's
to
something you
that point,
can control. Like Marshawn Lattimore, they aren't drafting someone to compete with Marshawn Lattimore because Marshawn Lattimore has closed the door on competition. So until you close that door, like if there's room for it, I want a team to be sending people through there constantly as long as the door is open.
So why is so? And just for a point of debate, why is that player not Bradley Roby, who they brought back? Like, why did they feel the need to spend in your opinion, right, a second round pick on a cornerback, on a guy where you kind of feel like you kind of found maybe a good guy in the third round last year? I mean, for Paulson Adebo on the field, right? I mean, you can see his weaknesses, obviously, if you look close enough, but he played well, right? Now he had a lot of talent around him, and and I
he
think
played well.
that helped.
There's no justification. He played well.
But the reasoning for bringing in competition, like what would you pin that on with the depth that they already had in the secondary?
It's an extremely high value position, and if you can have better cornerbacks, you should always try to have better cornerbacks. And if he starts or he's a backup, cool, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like you got another guy in the room. If Bradley Roby becomes expendable and you invested money in him, and Bradley Roby doesn't win a spot, that's fine too. It's a position where I feel like if you're burning dollars and having dead money, like I would rather you be doing that to continually be trying to strengthen your roster cornerback with cheap talent. And also in a year, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's on the last year of his deal. Who knows how that situation is going to play out? A million different things could happen. So just constantly having good players around, I think is a good thing. But look, corner
ain't taking slot money.
Corner is such a high value position that like if you can be better at it, you should always take advantage of those opportunities. And if you don't have two Marshawns, you should be in search of two Marshawns. And you probably won't ever achieve it, but you got to try. And until somebody closes the door on that, like I said, I think you got to be sending people through there. And if you're replacing somebody on a rookie contract, it's really not that big of a loss. I mean, I have no issue. Like if you're drafting cornerbacks, if you're drafting wide receivers, positions where three guys are on the field, like just keep shooting until like
I think that's fair. I think that's fair, and I agree with that. My if I had to find a pushback, I would say that there are other positions on your team where now listen, it could have been like, hey, this is the player who had the most talent, number one player on my board. I don't buy that stuff no more. I think every team in the NFL drafts need, right? So
yeah, I've been telling you that.
yeah, right. I know. It's like, I mean, he was the number one player on their board. No, he wasn't. He was the number one player of need on your board. You targeted
in this
him.
case, this guy might have actually been the number one player on the board, though.
All right, and that's fine. But
although I did hear before the draft that like cornerback was a sneaky position.
You put him in your last mock. You put a cornerback in your last mock, so I knew exactly what you. If you guys listen to Nick enough, he'll tell you exactly like what the future holds. Is just if you got the nuance, check it out. But if I like this is just for discussion purposes, right? Because I think it's a good topic. You get your tight end position is probably not ideal right now. You got a running back position, and you got the space to another receiver. Now your running back, Kamara, might be suspended. You have no guaranteed weapons or guaranteed guys who are going to be good at tight end, and your number 3 wide receiver, you can make a case that he's a 4 or 5 on other teams, right? So they targeted I think they targeted a cornerback with these other needs on the team. So it tells me one of two things: one, that they felt so good about this guy that they just wanted him on the team, which I understand that, or 2, that they feel like they can get by at those other positions, and that this guy was going to be a better move for the future of this team, right? That's like kind of how I see it.
Yeah, that's fair too. Like if he has to develop a little bit, that's fine. I just feel like if you think you have a corner there, like corner is kind of one of those positions like right behind quarterback. Like if you feel like you can get a guy in a later round and you think he has upside to hit, you're almost obligated to take him because these guys are extremely hard to find. And then if you wait until free agency to fill a need a cornerback, you're spending $20+ million on the position. So it's right there with quarterback. Like if you see the traits, you got to draft the traits and you got to take them and you got to try. And who cares if everybody says it's a reach on draft night if it hits in right away or a
Oh, I
year from
hate
now
draft
or
grades. I hate
whatever.
draft grades,
Yeah,
man. I
it's
can't
funny. Like
stand them.
someone hit me.
Oh
They're
my
like, this
gosh,
guy
bro.
was 4th round. Like, I don't even think they'll look at like where people are ranked like after
Oh
they're
my
drafted. Like,
gosh,
it's
bro.
just a process. I'm not
That
interested
notion
in at all.
about like draft grades, and it's all about like I tweeted out today because like sometimes
Or
I tweet out
draft ranking rather.
I don't ranking grades. It's all dumb, really. And I'm not attacking nobody who does draft grades because I understand it generates clicks. There was a time where, when I maybe knew a little bit less about football, where I wanted to know the draft grades too. But it's really all about that particular analyst, and did they like the player? Right. If someone says Alontae Taylor, I don't like him because he's a high cut corner and the Saints are a high percentage man team, and I don't think that he can deal with the change of directions of I'm just making something up. I was like, oh, okay, well, he looked at how the Saints run their scheme, the type of man coverage that they like to run, even though they play quarters and zones and too high, et cetera, right? They play a lot of quarters, but you could at least say, well, based on how they do their scheme, that I don't think that this player fits that. I would respect that. That's okay. But just to say, well, he was low on my board, so I'm gonna give him a C, like that doesn't make sense because you have to acknowledge that different, smart people can have different opinions on players, right? And so anyway, that's my draft grades rant is over.
I'll defend those guys. I got to walk back a little bit of what you said here because like I think they put in like the guys that do rankings and all that, like they're putting a lot of work into it and it's an honest effort and it's their opinion, and their opinion versus Jeff Ireland's opinion. Like it doesn't matter. Like one person, like if you draft a guy and he's right, you're right. If they draft a guy and they're wrong, they're wrong. And that's just kind of how I look at it. Like, okay, I'm going to look at it in 2 years, 3 years, and that was a good pick and that was a bad pick. And really, that's all that matters. It doesn't really matter where someone else says they should have got drafted. I'll check with other teams every now and then and be like, hey, like, where do you guys have this guy? And to kind of get a feel for where it's at around the league to see if the league thinks it's a reach or anything. And sometimes it is, sometimes like people see things differently. Like it just doesn't really, like, to me, it just doesn't really matter where somebody is on somebody's board. Like either it's a good pick or it's a bad pick. I'm going to watch them and form my own opinion, period, too, on top of that. But
well, yeah,
I do think those guys put in a hell of a lot of work, especially, and the few that do it right, like they've risen to the top, and
let me
know who they are. But
yeah, and let me push back a little bit because I agree with you that there are some guys that do it absolutely correctly, and I'm not. We don't need to say who. You guys know draft analysts. Some guys, we know who are the guys who we think are the grinders and who not, right? But that's not an attack on them, obviously. And let me put that in the air, right? But there's a draft grade. Like sometimes I read them and it's like, oh well, I didn't like this player. They could have got him later in the round. And you go read all the picks.
Right.
Yeah, you go look at all these grades for different teams. You go from player to player to player, and it's like, oh, didn't like him because of this, didn't like him because of that. I'm like, well, the entire scouting staff did. You know what I mean? Yeah, like the whole millions of dollars that goes into scouting these players, like they like them, right? So just it doesn't mean it's a bad pick. Right. It just means that you didn't like the particular player. And I guess that's what I'm saying. I think it needs to be more about fit and
sure
how do you project him going forward with this team more than if you think he's a good player or not? Because hell, I didn't think Jordan Davis deserved to get drafted as high as he did because he don't play on third down, but the Eagles did, and DA liked him enough to where they thought about taking him. Apparently, it was reported. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. But yeah, it's just about like, as people that cover football, I think it's important for us to say, man, like someone can disagree with me and nobody has to be wrong. It's just like we just see things differently. And that's anyway. One thing that stood out about this draft is that they went offense in the first round, and then it was defense, right? And so is there anything to take from that, or you think like, hey, we had these two fits on offense, we addressed them, right? Big knees. And then we kind of went and tried to find some guys who we thought could be, maybe diamonds in the rough, or maybe get some guys with some traits, or do you just think it's like, hey, listen, we're a defensive team, right? And I'll preface that question.
I got a real easy counter here. Like, how many picks did they invest in Chris Olave?
Like 20, 25.
Yeah, there was a significant
I'm tired of that tweet, bro. I'm tired of people telling me, listen, they paid a lot for Chris Olave. We know it. That's the Saints. They're aggressive, man. Deal with it.
In this context, so like there was a significant investment in offense. And I kept seeing that on draft day. Oh, they're going all defense, not like DAs, and thinking about, It's like, man, they put a lot of picks into getting Chris Olave. Like, there is a significant investment on the offensive side of the ball, both
Bro,
first
they
round
gave
picks,
up.
some of
It's
the
a lot.
thirds. Like,
No, it was a lot.
there's a lot. Yeah.
It was a
So
lot.
I
It
don't
was a
see
lot.
the beef. I don't see
If he's good, it doesn't matter
okay,
though.
right.
It doesn't matter if he's good.
Doesn't. But I'm just saying, in the context of this conversation, like, they put a lot. They invested a ton of assets into improving their offense. So I'm not mad at them for it. And then I just think, as you get into it, it's just a matter of, like, once you hit the 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's kind of like more about, like, who can we sign in free agency? Is this guy going to get drafted or not? Okay, we got a 6th round grade on the kick returner they signed out of Weber State, whatever, however you say it. Okay, like, is he going to get drafted? Okay, we don't think anyone's going to draft him, so we'll risk it and take this, whoever, and see how it works out later on.
See if
so
we can get this guy down the line.
yeah. So I mean, those are the decisions they're making as well. So, I think they made a good investment on offense. Guys you're drafting on day 3, like, you're not even certain they're going to make your team.
I think everything after the 4th round, you could put the 4th round in there. I kind of grouped the 3rd and the 4th a little bit together, like on some level, but specifically after the 4th. But maybe you can count the 4th, like those are lottery tickets, right? You're trying to find a guy that can, just a guy with one good trait, like the guy that they drafted, the defensive lineman that they drafted out of Air Force. He's a lot of flaws in this game, but he can get off the snap. He can get in the backfield fast, right? So they say, all right, this guy does this good, right? We're not going to ask you to stop the run. We're not going to ask you to do this. We're going to ask you to penetrate the B gap or the A gap, right? Or is your 3 tech, you're the B gap, right? And so I think that's what happens in the later rounds. But I will say that there is something to this. I think this is an offensively driven league, right? Offenses are they're winning Super Bowls, etc. The Saints defense feels like one of the few defenses in the NFL that actually matter, right? And that sounds a little crazy, but when you play the Bucks, ask the Bucks, do the Saints defense matter if you win or lose a game, right? There are a bunch of games this season where when you look on that side of the ball, they won the game, right? They won the game, right? And so if you're DA and you're looking at building this team, I understand the thought process behind shoring up the defense. Marcus May, Tyrann Mathieu, the guys you picked in the draft, right? You signed a bunch of defensive linemen. I think that they still understand that the strength of this team is on the defensive side of the ball, right? I think that's how they feel. I think that they said that we have some positions on offense that we need to address, right? We're going to take care of that early in the draft, but we still need to play good defense. And I think that, like I said, there's not many defenses in the NFL that I think matter to the level that the Saints do. But I think that they're in a unique situation where they literally can just take over the game on one side of the ball. And they showed that multiple times last year. And I think it warrants maybe some of the decision making, whether you disagree with it or agree with it. I think you can see the thought process that led them to kind of build this team how they're building it.
Yeah, that's fair. I got no rebuttal.
All right, man.
I mean, look, if you're gonna build your, like you said, like, if you're gonna build your team to where those guys are gonna be the backbone of the team, keep them the backbone of the team and then filling around it. And if you got to backstop that stuff, if that's where your free agency acquisitions got to be and all that, like, as long as your resources and the way they're being allocated leads to victories, who cares? Like, who cares if people are getting?
Don't matter.
Final point. We catch some heat every now and then because people want us to jump off the edge, and I get mentions from people all day. This isn't specific to anybody at all. Like, it's not, but we get, like, comments on the side here in YouTube, and I catch some heat and everything.
Mentions.
Yeah, people are always wanting me to be madder than I am, and they don't like it when we say, like, let's see how things are going to play out. And I just kind of feel like this offseason is a very good example of just like, okay, let me see all the moves, and then I'm going to react to them, because any reaction before today it doesn't. Okay, you're seeing the big picture now. They got Chris Olave, they got a left tackle, they got Tyrann Mathieu, they got Marcus May. There's not a lot of things to beef about at this point, and this is just kind of the example of why we're never going to be the first people off the ledge, because there's always things that can happen, and then you get mad when there's no more moves left. You look up and you say, "Oh my God, what are they going to do?" I'm not going to lie, I was uncomfortable with a lot of the things they were doing this offseason. No, I was looking at them like, man, like, are they going to end up being a good team or not?
But what did we say though? What did we say the whole time? We was like, let the draft play out and let free agency play out. I mean, listen, I'm the same way. I was like, man, look,
we had those
Daniel
conversations in
Sorensen and
private.
Street.
Yes.
These guys y'all signed it. This ain't it, bro. This
Yeah.
ain't it. And me and you, we were talking in private. I was like, man, you know.
Yeah, it was still we got to see, but like this
it's a long season.
Are they going to be able to get there? Are they going to be able to
right,
get there?
exactly. We were that was out, but I don't think it does anyone any good for us to come in here and say, "Woo, it's gonna suck this year," because
we don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet. Yeah,
and I never believed that, but like and we even said it on the pod a few times, like, man, they gotta like figure this stuff out, or we're gonna. It's gonna
wide receiver. You need to address it early and in the first round, right? And I think listen, man,
we were leveling our concerns in a measured manner, but I mean, it's just you got to wait and see how everything plays out, and this year's a very good example of that. I mean, I think it is. I think they made the moves they need to make. There's a few they could have made that they still haven't made.
I mean, running back, maybe a second weapon. I mean, there's a few things you can look at, but I think that they have set themselves up to tell you that we're competing this year, right? And Jameis Winston is our quarterback. We're going to put the weapons and the players around him to enable him as much as we can. This is his team, and we think that we think this is the way, Mandalorian, right? And so I mean, that's how we cover it, man. I don't really know what else to say other than there's a lot of I mean, I'm in a good mood most of the time, so I don't have to come in here and kill nobody. I can just objectively say, man, this is a little concerning, but let's give these guys a chance. Same thing with Alontae Taylor. Like, that's not the pick I would have made, but he's long. He's a cornerback. He's at a premium position. Jeff Ireland drafts good corners. DA was a secondary coach, and Chris Richard is good at developing players. So I can't come in here and kill that pick credibly because he could be an all-pro, right? It's a foundation around him with good coaches, good players, and a good scheme for him. He has every opportunity to be good, right? So I can see I can very easily see a scenario where he's a good player, right? Even though that's not the pick I would have made, right? And I think that's just kind of the approach that we take on it. This is the last point. Just your opinion on, and I've seen some commentary about it, and maybe it's around how much they gave for Olave, which I don't think that I understand why they made the moves that they made, and I'll leave it at that. But like, what's your thoughts on like how aggressive they were to go up and get him? Because I actually heard Adam Schefter mention it today. He said that the Commanders and Green Bay Packers were teams that were, kind of eyeing Olave. And I don't know if the Saints had information or intel on that or not, but they clearly knew that a run on wide receivers were about to start. I mean, Drake London and Garrett Wilson went off the board. So just what's your thoughts, like, giving that information, like at them, like at the right time, making a move and going to get their guy? Like, what's your thoughts on that aggression?
They needed him. He was their top wide receiver, and they did what they had to do to get him. And that'll, the value will be determined on the field. Like, if he's a good player, I don't really care that they gave up some third-round picks and some other stuff to get him. That was a necessary cost, and it'll be worth it if he's the right player for a team that he plays at a value that's equal to the 11th overall pick. They make the playoffs, they win games. Like, none of it matters. Like,
it won't matter.
Goes well. Yeah. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it. And it's a lot. Like, you can't come in here and act like they didn't pay a premium price to get this player. They gave up a lot to get him.
A lot.
He's got to justify it. And that's just the reality of the situation. And regardless, I think that pressure would be on him anyhow, though, because he's kind of a piece that a team was desperate for. So regardless if they gave up all these picks or not, there's a lot on him saying you need to be good. Like, there a lot rest on his ability to play well and succeed immediately.
Absolutely.
Regardless of this. So I don't know. Like, we'll look at it down the road. This is something that we'll see down the road if it was worth it or not. Like, there's just not enough information to judge it right now. And people are kind of like crack their, they're knocking on the table with the roller ready to get their knuckles with it. Like, I don't have a lot of interest in that type of conversation, because it's just like we're grading an incomplete project. Like, think about like Jamar Chase. Like, if you gave up all these picks that they gave up for Olave for Jamar Chase, are you mad at a team for doing that? No, you are not. And
I was ready to kill Jamar Chase in the preseason. The football is too big. Like, it's just a crazy world, man. I'll say this.
But if Olave is Jamar Chase,
then you'll
Yeah, if he's
Nobody-
Stephon Diggs,
It's never
fine.
going to come up
Yeah.
again how much you paid for him,
Right,
ever.
right.
It's never going to come up again, right? And I'll say this. You can say, listen, the commentary about how much they gave up for him is valid. That doesn't mean it's the wrong decision, right? Those two can coexist. Those are not mutually exclusive concepts. I will say that when you look at scheme fit and situation for a player, I think he is in the best position of any first round wide receiver in this draft, right? I think so. Now, if maybe even any receiver, maybe you can look at the kid from Green Bay that they drafted out of Christian Watson. I think he was out of Baylor. Not Baylor. I forget exactly where he went. I'm going blank. But you may say that guy's in a position to have a lot of yards, be in a good position to succeed, good scheme fit, etc. But when you look at Olave with Mike Thomas on the other side, right, and the attention that he's going to draw and his ability to he can play Z, not have to line up on the line of scrimmage, get a free release, right? His ability to win outside with Alvin Kamara coming back and some of the things they're going to do with a good defense. I think he's in a good position. And I just think that, when you look at that pick, if you can't justifiably if you can't understand why they make that pick and understand how it can be justified, then I just think it's a little bit, it'll be hard to have like a meaningful football conversation just because there's an agenda there. So, all right, man, that's all we got. We're here on a Monday, but you guys showed up like crazy tonight. I mean, so keep this energy, right? All off season, NewOrleans.Football is like literally the one-stop shop for anything football. Make sure you guys are following Nick on Twitter. He's got the dot that he puts up very often, presented by Matt Ball's Auto Group. We got this show that we're going on. Daniel Sant CPAs, obviously a sponsor here. Better Call Bido. All our sponsors, we appreciate all these guys. Nick, I don't know how many articles you put out the last 3 days, but it feels like a lot. So I mean, like, just sign up.
I've been feeding for action, man. There's blood in the water. We're gonna eat.
Bro, look, I'm like, every time I just get notifications to stop football, I'm like, he didn't even tell me this article was coming. I mean, the Olave pick happened, instant article. Trevor Penning, instant article. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, I mean, I think you called that probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. I mean, you've been talking about that forever. So I say all that to say this. Sign up for NewOrleans.Football and support what we're doing, because it's a big gap between, NewOrleans.Football and the rest. And I say that humbly. So chat, thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate you guys. Everyone that's supporting us, we appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week. We out.